Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Fandom Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z. Martin, and tonight we continue to debate the most essential episodes of every season with season 11. So let's get that fight club going. I'm going to need one of those bells they ring and duke it out over what we think were the most essential or non-essential episodes of season 11. But first, let my wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes, fan of Supernatural since season 3. I started writing fanfic in 2012, and you can find all of that on AO3 under Fire Sign 10.
Elektra.
Hi, I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I've been a fan of Supernatural since the very, very beginning.
Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I've been a fan since the pilot, and you can find me stalking around the Supernatural TFWNC Facebook group that you run.
And I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic fantasy, urban fantasy, and more. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance, but all the modern books or worlds Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home with a little bit of salt. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook, and mostly I'm here on Continual. So season 11. Now, we've got the Amara arc. That's the big deal in season 11. What were the standouts? And let's go with favorites first. And then we'll go to non-favorites. And then we'll talk about essentials. So favorites, Elektra?
Baby, absolutely. You know, we all fell in love with the car from the very beginning, and this is finally cementing in the car as a huge personality, and we finally get the episode from the car's point of view.
Okay, Melissa.
Baby, because I think it's an essential, because I don't think that you can understand this show unless you have that episode. But another favorite, Just My Imagination, that's the one with Sully. And first of all, it starts with a sleepy Sam wandering through the bunker. It's that little tiny bit of curtain fic that you get, like, oh, this is just regular normal life. And he's so adorable. Just gotta love that. But this to me also bookends season 9 Lost Boys episode, because this is Sam and when we see the flashbacks of Sam, it's this roughly the same age as Sam and Dean from Lost Boys from season 9. And it's we're getting a slice of what Sam's life was like at that age. And here was his opportunity. Sully was encouraging him to run away, to choose his own life, to not be a hunter. And yet, just like what happens at Lost Boys, when Dean sees Sam and he realizes, nope, I'm leaving for Sam. I don't care that I can have this apple pie life. Sam is ready to run away and, take his shot at the non-hunting life. And Dad calls and, wait, I can go be with Dad and Dean. Yes, I'm out of here. And so, especially on the rewatch, I was like, wow, those two episodes sort of really tie in together in a way that I hadn't seen it before. So, and Sully, I mean, come on, it was just a fun episode. So that's mine.
Okay. Carole.
Well, of course, I loved Baby. And red meat. If you ever really wondered how the boys feel about each other, red meat. It's there in black and red. a lot of blood. It's magnificent. What they do for each other, how they save each other. Moments like when the woman who has now lost her husband because he became a werewolf and was killed, and she's sitting there with Dean, and she's like, what do you do? How do you feel when you've lost like the love of your life? And Dean's face expresses it all, and Sam fighting so hard to get back to Dean because he knows Dean doesn't know what's going to happen and he must save him. I mean, both the boys knock it out of the park. And it's just a really, and I really don't mean to say this pun, but it's a really meaty episode. I'm sorry, but it is.
Yeah, well, you've hit all my favorite. You've hit many of my favorites. Red meat, of course, and that is Sam effing Winchester, who gets up with a gut wound, fights the werewolves, gets out of the woods by himself, drives to the hospital, shoots the werewolf to save his brother, and only then collapses. I mean, that's badass.
It would so stagger belief, and even as you say that, it does. Except it's Sam.
It's Sam
Winchester.
Sam Winchester, yeah. But I had two others that haven't been mentioned. One is the Chitters, which by itself is something of a Monster of the Week episode, except for Jesse and Caesar. And what we have here is a happy hunter couple. We've seen so many that didn't get their happily ever after, that were messed up. Jesse and Caesar are happy. They kind of remind you of the two guys in the Supernatural Convention episode, if they were hunters. And they're done. They've solved the crime. They solved Jesse's brother's murders. And now they're going to quit because there will always be evil, but they're going to quit. And Sam and Dean don't pull them back in to deal with the darkness. And that just was the setup to every curtain fic you've ever read. And you're sitting there hoping Sam and Dean will be smart enough, but you still want the show to go on. So I loved that about it. And I also loved Safe House because we got to see some very different insights into the characters, and I just loved the way that was set up, and I thought it was a really interesting, not predictable Monster of the Week.
It was absolutely delightful to be able to see Bobby and Rufus operating as the hunting duo we know they were, and we were teased with and never got, and to see them here in full bore hunting was absolutely delightful. They are both masters at this, and it was priceless. And then you get into the editing of like their scene, current scene, was spot on. So I actually have one other favorite.
Okay.
Plush. I really liked Plush.
Yeah.
I couldn't resist the evil mask, and of course they played on everything, where first we have the evil bunny, and then the evil clown moment, which is priceless, where poor Sam is like in the elevator with the evil clown who has like the knife still dripping with blood. There were a lot of really great moments in there though, because as another Donna episode, which is always a fun one. So I really liked that one as well.
And it wasn't in my top 10, but I got to give a shout out to Beyond the Mat. It was maybe not the strongest Monster of the Week episode, but we got to see Sam and Dean having fun. They went to a wrestling match, and for a few minutes, they're just guys in the audience cheering and having a beer and hanging out with each other. And it's such a glimpse of normal and happy for the boys that I don't care about the whole rest of the episode. I just want that because we get so few of those glimpses. Like you said, a little bit of that curtain fic thing, the behind the scenes. And I hope that there were more moments like that just didn't make it into episodes. And that's my headcanon. So episodes that you really didn't like. Carole?
Don't call me Shirley. Now we do get one priceless moment in there with Sam and Dean locked in the room with the fog coming in, and Dean's trying to block it out, and then he's like trying to breathe it in because if Sam's gonna go, he's gonna go with him, and the Samulet. I love that part, but oh my God, Chuck and Metatron, shut the F up. it went on and on and on. And I'm like, could we be more bored?
Bombastic.
Bombastic. There you go. There's a word. That was one I was really not thrilled with, and probably I found the beginning episodes, even though like the first 3 episodes, and I'm not talking about them essential wise, but simply viewing wise, are kind of a slow start.
The first 3 episodes took about a week. They
Yeah.
went on forever and nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean, we got the scary black veins and they were cool. I liked that.
But they
You
needed
know.
to be 1 episode.
Yeah. It just
They're-
was
they're-
like,
you go back and you look at them and nothing happens in those 3 episodes.
right. They could have been 1 episode and saved it, and we could have had 2 more episodes of Rufus and Bobby. I mean, that would have been great.
Okay, that would have worked for me. 2 more Rufus
Me
and
too.
Bobby episodes for the win. And that was a hallmark of this season. They had the really good character arc going on there, and there just seemed to be points where they were stretching for things to do. There weren't as many, and there were those beautiful high points like Baby and Just My Imagination, and then so many other ones where they just seem to be, we've got enough material here for half an episode, but let's make a whole episode out of it. And
Yeah.
they just let it stretch on and on and on. I mean, it seems like the season finale was 2 episodes too long too.
Melissa?
I could just do this because that would be the easiest thing. The Out of the Darkness, the first episode of this season, I kept thinking, is this the Croatoan episode? Am I watching the wrong season? Didn't we do this already with a disease that makes you crazy, makes you angry, makes you want to kill people, that's communicable? Didn't we already have this a couple seasons back? And why are we revisiting this again with a slight twist? And oh no, Sam's caught it again. Oh no, it was, in addition to being just poorly edited, I was like, if you're gonna recycle stuff, could you recycle stuff that was fun? That was not fun for me. So here we go.
As big bads went, I had trouble being scared of the lady in the black dress. Just not that intimidating.
Had some serious cleavage though.
Serious cleavage. She rocked that black dress, but okay. I kept watching and thinking, you didn't have special effects budget this season, did you? Because you've got your monster has no special effects. It's a lady in a black evening gown, and you've got demon smoke repurposed, and that's kind of it. And black veins, which you can do with a Sharpie. And so I just felt like maybe they didn't have special effects budget, but
Well,
I had trouble with Amara.
but she wasn't that menacing. I mean, compare her to, say, Billy.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
Billy didn't have any special effects either. And she walked into the room and said, just to let you guys know that the time of you being resurrected is totally over. And the next time one of you dies, us Reapers, we're going to toss you into the empty and there's no coming back. And I'm sorry, she like oozed menace.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I love her character to begin with, and I love the way the actress plays her, but she didn't need special effects to make it clear that she meant it and that this was a threat. But with Amara liking Dean and having that bond between them, there was a lot of not threat there. And then they brought Chuck back, and Chuck was powered down and kind of wimpy and sort of
He was
not there.
He was like if Woody Allen was God.
Yeah.
And I think the single
And not in a good way.
no,
Not even
single
the best of Woody Allen, who is
Yeah.
problematic still.
in the very beginning, I kind of like the whole black vein thing, because I always like in a disaster movie or a disease movie, I always like the very beginning where strange things are happening and we don't know what they are yet. So when the
Right.
black veins were coming, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. The single scariest moment of Amara to me was when she was the baby and she made the blocks embed themselves in the wall and said, you know, I'm hungry or feed me or whatever they said. That was scary. And that was it.
Yeah.
It was downhill from there, you know. And no slight on Emily Swallow. I think she did the very best she could. This is all on the writing. It's all on the writing, you know, and they took her teeth out and she did what she could without teeth, and it just was toothless, which is not all that interesting.
But again, they turned around and they gave everything to Billy. Billy gets a total throwaway. Oh yeah, you're biblically unclean, and she walks away.
Yeah.
And so she's the one who's really, she's doing it all this season.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you, Melissa, that I think it was almost like they were low budget. So let's pull out an old script and see if we can tweak it a little, because we had the rapidly growing baby in the Slice Girls. And I just have no patience with the precocious demon child trope. Maybe it's because I'm a mom and children don't scare me.
I think it can work at times, but this was not one of those times. Like I said, it was the baby.
Lilith worked.
And we were done. Yeah,
Lilith worked.
The white dress with the cat blood all over it, that was fabulous. You know, and this was like.
And Amara was not anywhere close to that scary.
It works later with Jack. When
Amara
it doesn't take 3 episodes with Jack, really. And then he just looks at them and says, I had to grow up quickly because mom said that it was dangerous. And that was it. They handle that so well, and yet they do this so poorly.
Yeah. Melissa?
Amara had one scary moment for me. When she kissed Dean, I was like, oh no, don't you be kissing our Dean. You do not get to kiss our Dean. And
you don't get the Dean lips.
Bit of, seriously, get off those lips, woman. Because part of it's just because, hello, Dean, nobody, she does not deserve him. But the other piece of it was, it felt a little bit like Becky when she roofied Sam, because it felt like, you released me from the cage, and so now you're mine, and I'm working some weird cosmic connection as opposed to his choice. That attraction never seemed legit to me. It always felt like she was causing it, and watching them kiss just was. I don't care that he's kissing somebody. I just didn't feel it. It just felt like she was compelling him a little bit.
Right. It was a compulsion caused by her than any actual intrinsic desire from Dean. And, you know, talk about your non-con.
Yeah, I thought it was also completely unnecessary. It just seemed more like a soap opera trope or something, because we didn't need that. She could have just said, you brought me back, you can never harm me, without putting the weird the hots for you thing into it. And
then it never even went anywhere.
No,
that's it. Here's a kiss, that's all you get. So either take it there or don't.
Well, we've seen so many high-powered female characters like Lilith, like Billy, and like Rowena, that didn't need to have a non-con bond with somebody, and just had so much more gravitas. And I think maybe that's what Amara was missing to me, was gravitas. Just, I can't take you seriously as the ultimate big bad this season, because you know, you're a lady in a black dress.
And you're badly
So-
written.
Yeah.
You're badly written.
But, well, that, everything about this season seemed just a little bit half-baked. I mean,
Mhm.
the idea of she's so powerful that everybody else is going to get together in crazy alliances that shouldn't work in order to oppose her was also a great idea that they just didn't handle well. I mean, it's great. Sam and Dean and Rowena and Crowley and Castiel and Lucy, that is a great idea. But boy, I did not like the way they put it all together at all.
It was the
I-
League of unextraordinary gentlemen.
Mhm.
I had a real problem with Dean allowing Lucifer in the bunker with Sam.
Mhm.
That was so, to me, jarringly out of character. I can understand the alliance, but letting him in the bunker with Sam, no, that was a hard stop for me. That completely yanked me. I mean, I suspend my disbelief all the time with this show. It's fine, it's part of the thing, but Lucifer wandering around the bunker, that was yanked me right out of the story.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I can't, you guys have jumped the shark here for me.
And it also really powered down Lucifer.
Mhm.
This is where we start going from Lucifer being genuinely evil and genuinely scary to Lucifer being this kind of cranky man toddler, who whines a lot.
We were getting, I thought, and this is no slight to Mark Pellegrino, who did a great job with the character, but I got really tired of Lucifer long before he was done. And they kept bringing him back and bringing him back. And it's like, could you do something new instead of let's bring back Lucifer again? Because I thought he had run his course long before he went off the stage. And
Yeah.
like you said, he just didn't have the juice this season. You had a lot of schlubs. You had Metatron being a schlub. You had Chuck being an uber schlub. You had Lucifer, who was a schlub.
And Sam and Dean being uber competent, except they don't have the power.
And you're just looking at these supposedly super powered creatures who are doofuses, and you're going, how? This just is not making any sense.
Someone's got to carry the water.
Well,
Who's going to do it?
Yeah, and the thing is, we've all met people who may have been at a very high, powerful station and aren't anymore. They don't quit acting like it. They might go from CEO to water bearer, but they still try to order people around and act like they're the CEO. So for all these creatures that had been high powered and running the universe for millennia to be so unremarkable, I would think they'd still be strutting around, just not being able to make anything work. So
Interesting.
And then we have the schlubbiness of all schlubs with Lucifer donning Castiel as his vessel. Just throwing that out there, y'all.
It was an interesting idea for the shock value, but that should have been a one episode, hey, we did this thing and it surprised you and it shocked the characters. But yeah, that lasted way past its expiration point.
Well, and the whole idea that after all they'd been through, this is not season 1 or 2, Dean and Sam. This is season 10, Dean and Sam. That Sam would be so gullible to think that God was talking to him and be willing to go anywhere near the cage. come on, have you learned nothing in 10 seasons? That just did not land
Well,
with me right at all.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I'm willing to believe that Sam still had hope. He's always been the one that had that hope inside him and was willing to believe. You know, he's the one who's prayed all along. And, you know, deep down inside, he really wants to believe in the higher power, even though he's met Chuck.
And at least even when he got there, he was adamant about never allowing it. He you know, it didn't matter what, you know, Lucifer took him on that tour of horrible memories, and he was like, no. And then, you know, Cass just undermined the whole thing.
And this is another one of those, Cass knows how much Lucifer tortured Sam because Cass had the memories in his head. So how did he agree? How? That makes no, that's another completely out of character. And then you're going to take on Lucifer and go and live in the bunker with your best friend and your best friend's brother, who is terrified of and now when Lucifer's gone, you expect them to just be like, tra la 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 la, it's just didn't make any
Three
sense
men
to
in
me.
a
I'm
bunker.
sorry.
And another big piece of this is one of they're examining some of the routine cases they're going through is, oh, we have now found a bunch of soulless people. That was another, been there, done that. The original ideas were not coming this season.
Mm.
I don't know. What, did they go to Kmart and there were no ideas for sale? It just seemed like they just were recycling one idea after another.
They put
Yeah.
all the previous season's ideas in a pot and they drew. And whichever got drawn, that was what's in the episode.
And they didn't even have a writer's strike. I mean, so if we look at which episodes Entertainment Weekly said were essential, we have Out of the Darkness into the Fire. Okay, I get it. It's Amara's introduction.
Well, and we had to find out what happened because they left us at a real serious cliffhanger
Right.
at the end of last season.
Baby, Don't Call Me Shirley. All in the Family, where we find out that Chuck is God. And We Happy Few. And then Alpha and Omega.
See, and there's another one. They could have taken We Happy Few and Alpha and Omega and made that one episode. You know, there was just so much. We really didn't need to see Dean playing Dr. Phil for God and
Again.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it was like,
look, it's a scary sunset. The world is ending. Again,
it's just
where's your effects budget, dude?
so. I would have thought that Our Little World would have been an essential one arc-wise, because here is when we finally we're 6 episodes in, and that's when Sam and Dean are finally like, we got to take care of this darkness thing. She got to go. And Metatron gets drawn back into play, where he's then there for the rest of the season. But you know, their whole decision about, okay, time to knock her off, and the devil in the details. There's so much that goes on in that. Amara's looking for God so she can have her confrontation. Dean's like finally aware that there's something hinky going on between them, and he doesn't know what it is. That we have the beginnings of the alliance where Sam, Crowley, and Rowena are starting to talk about, we've got to get Lucifer in on this. So the seeds of that alliance are being laid. To me, and that's episode 10, so we're like halfway through the season. To me, that's a pivotal episode in terms of the threads are now in play, they're being drawn together, machinations are underway, and whether or not you like the arcs, the point is that to me is a really important episode in terms of what's happening with the arcs and where you're going to go from there. So I'm surprised they left that out.
Yeah.
I think those last 4 episodes where they drew everything out could have been 2 episodes, honestly.
Mhm.
And they look to include them because there's important stuff happening in there, but it's given to you by dribs and drabs. And yeah, there are some good revelations, but it's boring.
It's like
I
when you're
hate
at
to
a,
say it.
it's like when you're at a, an old time vaudeville show and they would be like, stretch it out, because you got to fill the time.
I wish there'd been a way for them to include the vessel. I know it's not important to the arc,
Good episode.
and I know it's not important to finding things out, but good stuff happens in there, and we find out that the men of letters existed earlier.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We get some really good information there.
Yep. I think it is an important episode. I agree with you on that, though, because we get the first hand of God. And now this hand of God is a one shot, but hand of God is now introduced on the table. It's on the table. And now we get hand of God, kind of peeking in and out throughout these other episodes as a possible tool, and you also finally have them Cass revealing that he's Lucifer. And finally that charade is over. And, so I won't say it's one of the most essential, like some of those others, but it's certainly, I think, more important than really the episodes that we just like Baby, Red Meat, the Chitters, etc. They're better off because they're standalone. They're not tied into the arc. And they're better for it because they're actually strong.
It was a better written episode than many
better
of them this season.
Those were the better written episodes because they weren't tied into this saggy plot line.
Okay, I'm going to buy into that with you. I think that this was the soggy season.
And
It was soggy and leaden.
yeah, as a monster of the week, I also liked Thin Lizzie, where they went to the Lizzie Borden house.
Yes.
It was just a good monster of the week, and
It was.
had some nice twists, had some good jokes. I was
Sam
very
with the atomizer.
yeah, and finding out that there was as much human evil as Lizzie had to do with it. The toilet water. Yes.
Yeah. And we did get to meet two new characters, Donatello, who was, I thought, pretty darn enjoyable. I really liked him. He's a great character actor, and I thought he had a lot of fun with that, and I had fun watching him. And in her initial presentation, Eileen, who I liked a lot in that episode. She was strong, independent, didn't matter that she was deaf. She was a hunter. She was on her own. She had the answers. She was terrific. And it was so great, as we've often had Jody, Donna, other friends that, the Jussie and Cesar, when they have met these other people who are hunters and they become friends. That was great. And I'm going to keep that little piece of Eileen in a little box where none of the rest of the stuff that happens will ever touch her, because what happened after that is a whole nother story for a whole nother episode of Fight Club.
And season, yeah. Well, and I thought that even the finale in season 11 was so anticlimactic. We got the soul bomb, which they would revise several more times before the end of the show. I mean, come on, people, you don't just keep using the same thing. But this was, I think, the first time we got the soul.
Yes.
And I thought it was sort of dumb as an idea. Why wouldn't Amara realize you're stuffed full of souls if it's that powerful? She can't sense
Actually, this isn't the first time. We had the whole soul accumulation thing back in the Leviathans
with Castiel when he
putting
kind
all
of
the soul. Yeah. So there again, it's like, oh, souls, power, let's do it, man. And
but the fact that after all of that, and we're supposed to be afraid that Dean's going to die and the world's going to end and the sun's going to go out, Chuck and Amara just decide to go off on vacation together after a few wise counseling words from Dean in a really fake
Dr.
looking.
Dean.
And when
And-
when did Dean become the master of personal relationships? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was like it was such a letdown. There was no big fight. I just didn't buy into the
We
stakes.
never got the explosion from the soul bomb. They led up to it all season and there was no boom.
And I'm glad for Dean, but
Oh, yeah,
something
but-
should have gone boom.
Yeah, we needed that boom. The lack of boom
Yeah.
was just
Maybe
not
they could have at least
there.
projected it into the atmosphere or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Like a big
needed
nuclear
that
mushroom.
boom. Or tossed it into purgatory or something, but we needed that boom.
Yeah, we needed something because
Well, and what happened to the souls? They had sucked up all those souls from the asylum and everything else. And I like the scene in the asylum. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
he took an Alka-Seltzer and it was all over.
Yeah, did it send them on to heaven, or hell, or purgatory, or limbo, or Biggersons? I mean, where are they?
Well, and where have all
This is
the
now stabbed
souls
with
been
the souls.
accumulating since, they killed Death at the end of the last season.
Mhm.
Where are all the souls that have been accumulating since then that haven't, the Reapers apparently have been reaping them, but where were they going?
How did Kevin get stuck in the veil and nobody else? I mean, people die all the time. And I never got over the whole old Death said that someday he would reap God. And I'm sorry, that's Chekhov's gun over the mantle in Act 1.
Yep.
We get all the way to the end and Death doesn't reap God. And I feel very cheated by that. Go ahead.
And isn't there doesn't everybody have a book? So wouldn't God have had a book? Death would have been able to read God's book and he would have known, yeah, I'm going to get to reap it someday.
But we
So-
didn't have the books yet.
But just because we didn't have them doesn't mean
Well,
Death
the
didn't have
library,
them.
existed.
Right,
Mhm.
but we
So-
haven't seen that
We're
whole
talking
thing with
about
all
it,
the
but it
books
was
Right,
and stuff,
But
you
but
know,
when
because
Death
there's
was
a-
saying, I'm going to reap God someday, he had that book, so he
Right.
knew it. So it wasn't Death will reap some God. It was I will reap
Right.
God.
But the
And
books
if you
like
look
you,
under-
Gail.
if you look under R in the library, you'll see a volume called Retcon.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just, did the writers ever watch this show? Which sometimes happens.
Oh, yeah.
The books did change though.
Yeah, they did. They rewrote.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I just thought that was such a powerful concept that just sort of went away. And I loved Billy, but then we never really understood why she hated the Winchesters so much as we find out that she did, other than that because they did everything she ever needed them to do, but they were just messy.
She just seems to be I like things in their place person, and they defy order.
Yeah.
That's just that, or that's how she's portrayed, is somebody who wants things in their place. When people die, they stay dead, and they defy the natural order of things.
But she
And
never
was
had a
ticked off.
problem with having them help her,
Mhm.
or anything,
Well,
She
but,
certainly
you
didn't
know-
mind if they came back because she needed them to and stuff.
Well, yeah, if we're going to make a bargain about something, well, that's different. But in general, she preferred people who were dead to stay dead, and
Mhm.
people who went to heaven to stay there, and things to work out the way they were supposed to.
She was just ticked off that her boss liked Dean, her former boss, now he's dead, liked Dean, that he found Dean amusing, and it was clear he found Dean amusing. She was annoyed because she was not getting pickles and getting Mexican food
Cheetos.
made for her. She was just jealous of the relationship between Death and Dean, and so she was like, okay, none of that anymore, we're done. I'll stand on that head canon.
Yeah, there were just a lot of head scratchers. And I got to agree with you, Carol, on I liked Eileen as we meet her. I liked Eileen until they decided in seasons 14 and 15 to change her into some sort of Stepford wife that, and then tried to push a relationship that just seemed like it was being invented out of whole cloth. Gee, it was. And I thought that diminished Eileen's character because
so much.
I like the fact that she, like Charlie, like Jody, like Donna, didn't have to fall for the boys.
She didn't need no man.
Yeah.
Right?
She was a hunter and an equal, and she could be that without feeling like they had to match her up with somebody.
Mhm.
Elektra,
Yeah,
you look
oh, I agree with you 100%. I love her character. I would have been really happy to hear that, like, you know, she had a husband and family somewhere, or a wife and family somewhere that were off screen that we never met.
Mhm.
And that, you know, and that she went off and they just understood that she was still trying to find this banshee. And that was just, you know, that was her hobby. You know.
yeah. I thought they really kind of did violence to Eileen's character in the later episodes by taking away her autonomy. And that was just not necessary.
Here we just had that joyful moment and got to appreciate her, and then
Yeah.
that was it.
Mhm. So
It's a super fun character, and
mhm.
She was.
I would rather have had the Hellhounds get her. You know,
I just
could have
can
died a hunter's death.
I can picture her joining Sam and Dean completely platonically for movie night in the bunker, complete with lots of margaritas.
Like
And meanwhile,
Charlie.
she's
Like Charlie,
teaching
yeah.
Sam how to swear in sign language.
And
Yep.
Dean doesn't know, so Sam's like doing stuff, and he's like, "What are you saying? What are you saying? Son of a bitch!"
Right.
And Dean is looking up sign language to find out what Sam just called him. Or else Dean is just moving into normal street sign language, like flipping him off and doing, you know, normal. So Sam is getting all the complicated stuff and Dean just goes, you know, complete Godfather with the hand gestures. And
That would have been great.
I think what we
They
have
killed
here is a
that. They
failure
would've
to
killed that.
communicate. Yeah. So going out on a positive note, because there have been things we haven't liked about season 11. Anything else good you can say other than we get season 12?
Baby. We talked about how we loved it, but it opens with Dean washing the car, and hello, that was a flashback to Cool Hand Luke. I'm sorry, that was just, my head immediately went there. I was like, oh, can we get a little bit more from the other side of the camera, please?
And the green cooler.
Oh,
Yep.
Priceless. I actually really liked the end of Alpha and Omega when Mary comes out of the woods. I remember screaming. I was like flabbergasted. And for that brief millisecond of Mary's entrance at the end there, I was like, holy cow, which wasn't what I said back then, but you can imagine. And I was like, oh my God, what a game changer. Here's this character from the past and all these things. And there was so much. And I was like, oh, I can't believe they did this. This like made up for like all of this stuff. And what happens to that, we will discuss next Fight Club, season 12. So I'm not going to sully this moment. But that brief moment, Mary coming out in the white nightgown, Dean's like aghast and like,
The nightgown of doom.
the nightgown
Yep.
of doom. And Amara is saying, I'm giving you what you wanted most. And he didn't even know it. That was a great moment to me.
That was cool.
The promise of so much stuff that could happen was like mouth watering.
Yeah.
here's a question for you. What if they decided they wanted to bring her back. And they worked backwards from there. And that's why we got that weird relationship between Dean and Amara. Because they were trying to justify somebody with godlike powers bringing back mom.
That doesn't connect for me at all.
But she could have been grateful to him for unlocking her, like from her prison. They didn't have to have
No.
that weird, strange subtext.
Oh no, absolutely.
And
But,
still
I mean,
still
she
have
was-
mom as the reward.
Her ultimate gratitude was that she was reunited with her brother.
True.
Mhm.
That was the whole thing that she wanted. She wanted the brother. Oh, did you lose me? And
Nope.
There.
and so she gave him the relationship he wanted back most with his mother. And
Well,
it
and
was
that
the
really-
thing of beauty
Believe it or
But-
not,
for a millisecond.
I know we could talk about this forever, but we're blown through our time. So let's do a quick run through and have everybody say where we can find you online, because unfortunately I have to go run another panel. So Melissa, where can we find you online?
Stalking folks at the Facebook Supernatural TFWNC.
Awesome. Elektra?
Untilmidnight.com. Everything is there.
Carole?
Action is on AO3 under Fire Sign 10. I'm on Twitter as true_Fire Sign 10. And I'm also here as Carole Stokes on TFWNC and Continuum.
I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com, Supernatural TFWNC, and of course, here on Continual. So thanks to my wonderful panelists for another great evening talking about our favorite show and the seasons. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There'll be more Supernatural coming up on Continual, so we'll see you online.